Today we're going to look at our next type of multiplying. Okay, so we're still multiplying with polynomials, but today we're going to be multiplying a binomial times a binomial. So something with two terms, excuse me, times something else with two terms. So for example, 3x plus 7 is a binomial, two terms, times 2x minus 4, binomial, two terms. When we do this, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to distribute the first term. Okay, and what I mean by that is we're going to take the first term in the first binomial, and I'm going to distribute that to the 2x minus 4 using the exact same rules that we had yesterday. So I'm going to say 3x times 2x will give me a 6x squared, right? I'm adding the exponents. 1 plus 1 is 2. And 3x times a negative 4 will be a negative 12x. My second step is that I'm going to distribute the second term. By that, I mean the second term of this first binomial. So notice I'm circling that plus 7 because it's telling me it's a positive 7. So I'm going to distribute that positive 7 to the 2x minus 4. So 7 times 2x is a 14x, and 7 times negative 4 is a negative 28. Okay, the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to combine any like terms. So, right, I have this positive 14x and this negative 12x from both of them, and those can be combined. So the 6x squared stays put, a negative 12x and a positive 14x gives me a positive 2x, and I still have a negative 28. Now, there are numerous different ways that you can write this and show this work. So I'm going to show a couple different options, and you can sort of choose what works for you. So option 1 is that you can show those steps very similarly to what I just did. So if we look at x plus 6 times x plus 2, you could know that you're going to distribute the x and the positive 6 both to x plus 2. So x times x is x squared, right? Add the exponents. X times 2 is a positive 2x. Now here's a little trick that I sort of like. When I distribute this next one, 6 times x is 6x. So I actually align it up over here underneath the 2x because those are like terms. You don't have to do it, but it does give us a nice vertical look. And then I'll take a positive 6 times a positive 2, which gives me a positive 12. And if you write it in this form, then when you go to combine like terms, you have like terms vertically stacked. So this will be an x squared plus an 8x plus a 12. That is one option that you can use for a visual cue of how to multiply. Another option that you can do is just to think through the distributing. So you can look at this example, 3c minus 7 times a 2c minus 11. And you can say, okay, I need to distribute this 3c to both pieces. So 3c times 2c gives us a 6c squared. 3c times a negative 11 gives me a negative 33c. And then you can switch and distribute the second term. So negative 7 times 2c is a negative 14c. And a negative 7 times a negative 11 is a positive 77. Now, again, we still have to combine like terms, so then you can do that sort of idea we did with addition and subtraction, right, of finding like terms that you can combine. So a negative 33 minus 14 can be combined. So I have a 6c squared minus 47c plus 77. Okay, the third option is a little bit of putting both of those together. So when we look at example C here, this 4u plus 9 times a 3u minus 5, you can take 4u and just start distributing it. So 4u times 3u gives me a 12u squared. 4u times negative 5 gives me a negative 20u. Okay, but we can sort of take that visual cue we used on example A. So now if we take positive 9 times 3u, that gives me a positive 27u. So instead of just writing it here or in a horizontal line, I can put that vertically underneath here because that is a like term. So then positive 9 times negative 5 is a negative 45. So now if I combine like terms, that will give me a 12u squared, a positive 7u, minus 45. And that will be our final answer. Now, the like terms that you can combine or you can't combine, or the order those come up in, it all just depends on the problem. Right? So this problem doesn't just have x, it has y to the third and y squared. It doesn't just have to be an x, it can be any type of binomial times any type of binomial. So if I do 7y to the third times 4y squared, so 7 times 4 is 28, and then I add my exponents. 3 plus 2 is 5. 7y to the third times positive 7 is a positive 49 y to the third. Right? Then I will start to distribute my next piece. Now be careful here, right? I'm distributing a negative 10. That sign goes with it. So negative 10 times 4y squared gives me a negative 40y squared. And if I look, that's not a like term with anything else that I've written down. So I'm still just going to tag this on to the end. I'm not going to write it vertically because it's not a like term. Then a negative 10 times a positive 7 will give me a negative 70. None of those are like terms. Nothing can be combined. So that would be our final answer. Okay, if we look at our next one. Okay, so if we distribute, w times 3w gives me a 3w squared. Right, I'm adding the exponents. 1 plus 1 gives me 2. A w times a positive 8 gives me a positive 8w. And now I'm going to distribute the negative 4. So negative 4 times 3w gives me a negative 12w. And this already is a w, so that's a like term, so I'm going to write it underneath there. Again, it's not a requirement, but it is a nice visual cue to getting like terms combined. Then I'll say negative 4 times positive 8, which will give me a negative 32. So this will be 3w squared. 8 and negative 12 give me a negative 4w minus 32. Okay, last one. If I start distributing, 2x times 7x gives me a 14x squared. 2x times a negative 6y. These are not matching bases, so I cannot combine exponents. So that will give me a negative 12xy. Then I'll take negative 5 times positive 7x. So that will give me a negative 35. Now, I can write negative 35yx, but you'll notice, right, these are the same thing, just in a different order. So those are like terms. So I'm going to write this as a negative 35xy just to be consistent. It's going to help me with combining those like terms. And then a negative 5 times a negative 6 will give me a positive 30y squared. Right, then I will combine like terms, so I already have those lined up vertically. So a 14x squared minus a 47xy, right? The label does not change. When we add, the label stays the same. Plus 30y squared. Now, I cannot add these two because one is an x and one is a y, so this is my final answer.